everyone. This is Talk for Impact, and welcome to Talk for Impact. I'm Caroline, and today I want to teach you something very important. Actually, many students have problems with this. They always ask, how do I become fluent in English? So today I'm addressing this problem. I'll give you some tips that you can use to become fluent in English. But something to take note of, it doesn't happen overnight. It is a process. You just need to understand these tips and you will get there someday. Let's start with tip number one, consistency. Consistency is everything. Make it a habit to study every day. By studying, I don't mean you have to get a book, sit down, write something. No, there's so many different ways of studying or learning English. One, you can just read something if you have the time. You can listen to podcasts if you're driving to work, or maybe you're not driving, you're commuting using a train. You can listen to podcasts, you can watch some YouTube videos. Just make it a habit. Do it daily. You can just dedicate 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. If you have more time, hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It depends on how much time you have. You don't need a lot of time to be consistent. And the other thing that I need to highlight is by consistency, I mean doing it if you know, okay, I can't have it every day, but I can have it 3 times a week. Make sure you do it 3 times a week. Doing practicing English 3 weeks, I mean 3 times a week, is much better than doing nothing completely, even if it's once a week, but just be consistent. However, I would like to recommend doing it daily. If you do it daily, you're going to see results within a short period of time. But I don't mean 3 months like some people promise. The time is just going to be shorter than you would if you're doing it once a week. All right, let's look at our second point. You cannot learn every single vocabulary word in English. So stop waiting to start speaking using advanced vocabulary. No, start speaking with the few vocabulary words you know. Fluency comes with practice. So just start speaking. Even though you just know 10 words, start using the 10 words you know. So something that I always hear from my students, they're like, oh, I try to speak, but I just use, simple, basic language. It is okay. Perfect what you have right now, and then you can learn advanced vocabulary. Just try. Fluency doesn't actually mean using advanced vocabulary. It means, speaking flawlessly. So just start with the English. Let's look at our next tip. And that is learning basic grammar. I know I have met so many students who have studied grammar for like 15 plus years, 10 years, 5 years. Probably their grammar is perfect, but they can't communicate. They can't hold a conversation. Why? Because all they do is learn grammar and zero speaking. And then there is another category that doesn't like grammar completely. They don't want to learn grammar. Yes, you can learn English, you can become fluent without learning grammar, but that's going to take a very, very long time. And that would also require you to live in an environment where people speak English and you're pushed to use the language. When you're in this situation, you will be listening like every now and then, and probably you'll just start using the language without understanding why. So think of grammar as a foundation. If you're building a house, the foundation has to be good enough, strong. So basic grammar is your foundation, but I don't mean you have to learn advanced grammar. You don't need to learn conditionals to start speaking. But it's really important to just understand the basic things like pronouns, articles, present simple, the past simple. So if you're beginning the journey, I would recommend dedicating the first month of your English learning journey to just building this foundation, learn the basics of English grammar, but don't take 6 months, 1 year learning grammar. No, you have to start speaking. So spend 1 month understanding the basics and then start speaking. I know it can be boring, but I would also recommend learning grammar while you speak. So, if, for example, you say, yesterday I go to work, and you listen to something and somebody says, yesterday I went to work. Okay, you can stop and ask yourself the question, why did they say yesterday I went to work? Why not I go to work? And then you can try to understand why. This is how you can also learn grammar. This is after building the foundation, the very, very basics. All right, let's look at the other tip, and that is making English your lifestyle. I think learning any language should be like a lifestyle. You have to live this language. So turn your devices into English. Change the language to English. The websites, change everything to English. Social media, try to change everything to English. I know it can be difficult, and trust me, it's gonna be difficult at the beginning, but with practice it's going to be okay. Imagine you want to find some information on the internet and it is in English and you can't understand anything. Trust me, you're going to sweat, but at the end of it you'll figure out something. So just make it a lifestyle. In your house, try to, you can use sticky notes and use these stickers on everyday objects. Okay, maybe you have a side table, write their side table, and then you can write, I have here maybe 10 books, whatever. So every time you walk around, you see these vocabulary words, you look at this object, oh, this is called the side table. So surrounding yourself with English, and it doesn't necessarily mean, changing your devices to English and using these sticky notes, but also trying to make friends who speak English, okay? Listening, watching videos, watching movies. Just try to ensure that in your everyday life, there is something related to English going on somewhere. And here I would like to highlight that you cannot be very passive all the time. Let's say you're listening to a podcast, but then you're scrolling on social media in your language. I don't think you'll achieve much by having this play in the background and yet you're doing something completely different. However, if you're doing house chores, I would still recommend listening to something in English. Sometimes you don't have to focus, you can just listen passively. How does this help you when you listen passively? Listening passively is going to help you improve your listening skills. You'll start understanding, okay, maybe sometimes when I'm listening, they go up here, sometimes they go down. We call this intonation. You can learn how intonation is used. And also, every time you listen to something, there are a few words that will stick. So you'll also be learning vocabulary. And you can also learn how people link words. So it is up to you. If you have more time, listen actively, pay attention, try to make some notes. Okay. They said this, but why did they say it this way? Why didn't they say it that way? If you try to listen to, okay, people always say native speakers are so fast. This is because of some reasons, things like linking, elision, intrusion, and all these. But listening is going to help you solve this problem. You will realize that, okay, I say this apple is red. Okay, this is how it is written. But when they're speaking, you'll hear this apple is red. And I'm like, what does that mean? This apple is red. This apple is red. Over time or in the context, you can get the meaning. So it is very important for you to surround yourself with the language. And the other tip I want to give you is, and this is really a big problem that a huge number of students have. They say, I want to study with a native speaker. Okay, I completely understand you. If I wanted to learn a language, probably I would want to study with somebody who understands the language, who knows the language. But being a native speaker may not necessarily imply that somebody can teach. These are two different things. You can speak the language, but you cannot help me speak the language. I think for you to achieve something, you have to find a tutor who is clear. Like you can understand their accent, you can understand what they're saying. And if you want to speak with a certain accent, then you probably need two different tutors. The one who can teach you to become fluent and the one who can teach you to speak with a better accent or a native accent. So for example, let's say you want to become good at giving presentations, and there is a native speaker. They speak English because they use the language in their everyday life. Perfect. But maybe they don't have the capability, they don't have the skills to help you learn how to give presentations. How do you have to behave? How do you have to respond when somebody interrupts you impolitely? So it is better for you. I would highly recommend you find two tutors. If you want to improve your pronunciation as well, find one tutor or one teacher for pronunciation and one teacher to teach you how to deliver a perfect presentation. The same applies to everyday English. Being able to speak the language doesn't necessarily mean you can help somebody else learn how to speak. Actually, I want to challenge you. Just think about yourself. You know your native language perfectly. If somebody told you today, oh, teach me your language and I want to become fluent, do you think it's going to be easy? Maybe not. Highly likely it's not going to be easy on your side. So that is it for me, from me to you. Think about the output, the outcome. And sometimes maybe you don't really connect with the teacher. There's so many factors that can influence your learning process. One, you must connect with the teacher. Two, they must be good at what they're doing. And three, they must be clear. I don't mean you should go with somebody you can't understand. No, it should be understandable, but also knowledgeable in transferring knowledge to another person. Let's look at our next tip, and that is to just a sec. Yes, to not use subtitles. I know many students. Every time I meet a new student and I ask them, okay, do you watch some movies? Do you enjoy movies? Yes, I like English movies. And, I watch them with subtitles and I understand. Okay, this is what I'm going to tell you, and it's what I always tell my students. If you want to watch a movie to enjoy the movie, perfect. Go with subtitles because you want to understand everything. You don't want to miss anything. You want to enjoy the movie. But if you're watching the movie to improve your listening skills or even vocabulary or understanding a specific accent, please don't use subtitles. I know you're probably now asking, but how will I watch when I cannot understand anything? It is okay. Just start. It is difficult at the beginning. I don't deny that. It is difficult. For the first probably 5 videos or movies you're going to watch, it's going to be very difficult. The first one, maybe you won't understand anything, but you have to get used to it. You have to expose yourself to this kind of environment of, you don't have to read. I will tell you why subtitles are not very helpful. When you have something written, you will read and you will understand. You cannot read and listen at the same time. No, you just read and understand. Where is your listening skills? Gone. You won't understand probably even, and when you're reading and the movie is going on, you won't pay much attention. But if there are no subtitles, you'll pay much attention, you'll focus a lot. Why? Because you want to understand. Okay, they said this. What could that mean? Let me play it again. You'll try like 3, 4 times, you won't understand. But sometimes from the context, you'll be able to understand. If you listen over and over again, it's gonna be perfect. I want to give you an example of a student. Actually, we had a class just this morning. I mean, today. I don't know what time it is for you. But, she told me she came with about 8 new words. In the past, she had this problem. I told her because she said, I would love to start watching movies in English because I had told her, you have to start watching movies in English. But then she was like, I can't. And I was like, why? She was like, because I don't understand anything. I can watch, but I need my subtitles to be in Polish. And I was like, no, it doesn't work that way. And then she was like, okay, can I have it in English? I was like, no, no subtitles. If you really want to progress very fast, especially if you want to improve your listening, no subtitles. She was hesitant at the beginning, but along the way, I think she realized that she needed to give it a go. And when she did, she started with, she told me, okay, Caroline, I'm going to start and I want something easy. Then I was like, okay, you could start with friends or modern family. And she was like, no, it's difficult. She decided to start with Peppa Pig. Okay. I think she watched this particular one for about a month. And now she's advanced. She's progressed to something different because she said, it is too easy for me. Now I want to challenge myself. And today she came with 8 new words. And she was like, I heard this several times when I was watching the movie. And she was like, unfortunately, to be honest, to be able to, she's at A2 level, to be honest. She's not advanced. And words like permission, I don't remember all of them, but she was able to notice these words. Why? Because she was attentive. If she was reading, it would have been just something passive. She would have read it without even knowing the meaning of these words and she would have just continued. And yeah, so no subtitles. Trust me, give it a try. Do it for a month. Watch 10 movies without subtitles, and you tell me if your understanding at the beginning is the same as your understanding on the 10th movie. Oh, I don't know, movie, video, whatever it is. It's going to be different. And when you start understanding, however little it may be, the feeling is different. You're going to be excited, you're going to be happy. In fact, this student told me today that every day now, during my day I'm working, but I'm thinking of the time I'll finish working and just go to watch a movie because now I understand a little bit. I'm so excited. That's the feeling you're going to get. Let's look at our next tip. Yeah, I think this is being selective with the accents. Okay, being selective with accents. I always tell the students I meet or my students, please don't be selective with accents. You can choose the accent you want to speak with, but you cannot choose the accent you want to understand. Why? Because when you go out there, you're not going to say, I just want to talk to people from this area. No, the world doesn't work like that. If you want English for work purposes, maybe you're in an international environment. Let's say you're from Poland and you want to learn how to use or to speak with American accent. And also you want to be selective. I don't want to listen to this accent or that accent. German accent is horrible. And then one of your colleagues is from Germany. So tell me, will you understand them? No. But like I said, you can choose the accent you want to speak with. This is completely up to you, but you cannot choose the accent you want to understand. In real life, when we travel, you want English for travel, you will travel to South America. They have their own accent. You want to travel to China, a different accent. You want to travel to Europe, every country with their own accent. So try to expose yourself to all kinds of accent if you want to be fluent and also understand people easily. Choose what you want to speak, the accent you want to speak with. This is perfect because you want people to understand you. But don't choose, the videos you watch, the accents you want to listen to, because in real world, we have people from different places with different accents. By the way, for your own information, if you didn't know, within the US itself, within England itself, people have different accents. Why? Our accents are strongly influenced by the languages around us or our origins. So you can't stop this. And trust me, the world is not going to change just for you to understand everyone's accent. So expose yourself to all these accents. Okay, now let's look at another point. Okay, and that is practicing through role plays. I always emphasize on this, especially with my students. And I will tell you something, students don't like role plays. I completely understand probably why they don't like it, but it's the best way for you to improve your fluency. Why? Because when you're doing a role play, you put yourself in a real situation. Let's say we're role playing going to the grocery store or ordering coffee, okay? You're going to act as a customer and I will act as a waitress. You have to make an order and you put yourself in this situation and you're able to think just the way you would do if you were in a cafe ordering for coffee in whatever country it may be. Try everything you can to practice through role plays or through tasks, what we call task based learning. Perform a task with somebody, speak the language while you're doing this task. Just learning, taking in information, and avoiding role plays will not help much. You will think you know, but when you're in that situation, trust me, you're going to freeze because you've never been in that situation before. But if you have role plays, if you practice through role plays, it's going to be much easier for you when you're in that situation. Why? Because you've been in that situation before, even though it wasn't real, but you know how to deal with situations. Okay, if my order is wrong, what do I say? You know what to say because you've practiced it. How can you use role plays if you're just alone? Just try to do it by yourself, okay? Sit down. Imagine you're in a cafe and you're ordering for something. Oh, excuse me, can I have the menu, please? They come. Okay, there's a lot to choose from. What do you recommend? Talk to yourself. Imagine you can even be in your room if you don't want other people to think you're going crazy. You can do it in hiding, but for me, I would do it from anywhere. So just try to ensure that you have some kind of role plays in your English learning journey. It's really important. With that said, I think it brings me to our biggest point, which is practicing with other people. Use groups, use platforms like Talk for Impact. They have conversation sessions where you meet students from different places and you speak in a group. The beautiful part is that, okay, there are two options. You can speak in a group without a tutor, but it is much more helpful if you can find a group where you have a tutor. Why? Because the tutor will correct you, will give you feedback, so that next time you know exactly what to say, you don't repeat the same mistake. Why am I encouraging you to practice with real people and also in groups? Practicing in a group kills the fear of, talking in front of more than one person. Of course, you can have a role play with the teacher, you can have a role play with a friend, but when you expose yourself to a bigger group of people, it kills that fear. It helps you build confidence because you talk to more than one person. You talk to four people, you talk to 10 people. It is much more like delivering a presentation. You're going to meet so many people. And I think you can agree with me that when you're talking to one person, especially when you're standing, it is different from when you're talking to a group of five people because you start asking yourself, okay, I think they're now all looking at me, they're now all judging me. And for that reason, practicing in groups are very, very helpful because you train yourself to be in this situation and you learn how to handle it and deal with it. When things go wrong, how do you fix it? And also practicing in groups, online groups like Talk for Impact, you have the opportunity to meet students from different places, different countries with different cultures. And this kind of like helps you learn how to behave or conduct yourself in the future. When you travel to a particular country, you can learn about their cultures, and this prepares you for future communication. And with that said, one big thing, or the biggest thing to remember from this session, this live session, is that practice is everything. Consistency is everything. Remember to practice every day. You can just talk to yourself. When you're in your house, maybe you're cooking or you're cleaning, just tell yourself, oh, I'm cleaning. And what am I using? I'm using a sponge. Okay. And what about this? This is soap. Talk to yourself. Okay. I'm cooking. Okay. Can I tell the process? Oh, first I need to, okay, put the pan on fire. Then I need to add. Next, I need to stir. Finally, I need to turn off. Talk to yourself every day. If you're driving, the things you see along the way, or if you're on a train, the things you see along the way. Oh, what is that in English? Let me try to remember. Surround yourself with English. Speak to yourself. Talk to people. Most importantly, you have to talk to people. Talking to people is going to help you build confidence, because sometimes you might be fluent, but you can't just talk to certain people. You can just talk to a specific group of people. Maybe I can just talk to my friends. But then when it comes to talking to other people you're not familiar with, it becomes a problem. So, consistency is everything. You would rather have one lesson a week with a teacher or in a group setting every week for 1 year, other than having these sessions daily for 2 months and you stop. And then you come back after 8 months. Trust me, when you come back after a month or two, you're going to go back to zero. Learning a language is like any skill. Let me ask you if, like me, okay, I cannot drive. I know, sounds awkward. I can drive, but I went to a driving school. I learned how to drive. And since then, I've only driven once. If you told me today, Caroline, go to the road and drive, trust me, I won't even be able to start the car. Why? Because I haven't practiced. I At that time when I finished the course, I was able to do it. Now I can't. Why? Because I don't remember a thing. Two, I don't have confidence that I can do it. So if I want to start driving today, I have to again start the process from scratch. This is the same as English learning journey. You must start and make it a habit. Continue until one day you become fluent. Even when you're fluent, it continues. If you stop, it's gonna disappear. Maybe you won't forget everything, but you'll forget most of the things. Again, I can give you an example of myself. About 4 or 5 years ago, I learned Arabic, and I was, to say, at B2 level. Okay. But after, when I returned to my home country, I didn't have the exposure, to this language. So there was nobody to practice with. When I moved again to another Arabic country, it was difficult for me. I would understand, but if I wanted to say something, it was a disaster. I remember one time going to a flower shop and they asked me a question. I understood, but I couldn't express myself. I couldn't answer back. Why? Because the words had just disappeared because of lack of practice. So even when you're fluent, continue practicing. And I think that is it for today for me. And thank you so much for being here. And see you in the next one. Thank you so much.